Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Cape Crusader Cody, and we're keeping it geekly with our returning guest, Richard Fairgray. We're here to break down the Ex-Wives of Frankenstein, issue 4, the finale in the series, and everything in between. And we're being held together by some stitches with the excitement for this one. Richard, how the hell have you been since the last time you've been on the show?
I mean, I've been all over the place. I have kind of not stopped moving. I'm barely getting any comics made at the moment, which is freaking me the fuck out. Was I here for Ambitious Failures last time?
Yes.
Okay, so since then I did Frog Alley, another graphic novel, and then the final Horror Shorts issue. But then I was off Kickstarter for an entire week, and now I'm back with the final issue of this. So in between that, I have been to Canada twice, Baltimore for a con, done 2 small one-day shows here in LA, have got COVID, got trapped in my apartment for a week dealing with that while still trying to get work done, recovered, went to a wedding that was really mobbed up, which was kind of exciting. I got in this conversation with this guy who was just like, so you just do crime for fun? I was like, yeah. And he was like, you ever want it to be a job? I was like, no, don't ruin your hobbies. It's been a wild time, but I'm here plugging away, making my books, talking about Batman Returns with a lot of people, and yeah, not sleeping still. So it's good.
Speaking of weddings, I went to one not too long ago myself. I want to say it was like my first, I think my very first one was like, there was like hay bales. It was like, I was like 18. I forgot about it. Mm-hmm. And I have not, like, I don't even, it's like so vague. I don't even know if I was there. But this last one I went, it was really nice. I went with my significant other. We had a really good time, did the slow dancing. They make you wait forever to eat. What's up with that in weddings?
See, this is why I'm not going to brag, but this is why my wedding was the best. Started with a party, had drinks, and KFC catered the whole fucking thing. The actual wedding part happened in the middle of all of that and took 15 minutes and then had a haunted house. I do not understand. Waiting is the worst thing in the entire world, right? Because all you're thinking about is life is finite. I'm going to die someday, and I don't want to look back on this moment, right? This is, another reason why it's worthwhile being in costume. My first wedding I ever went to was my uncle's wedding, and I was, I think, 7 or 8, so I had to wear a nice little suit. And I was like, all the other kids were like, we don't want to wear suits. This is going to suck. We're tough bad boys. We want to get dirty. And I was like, this seems like a very good opportunity for me to get a vampire costume for free. And so if you look at all the pictures of me as a kid at this wedding, I'm wearing this little vampire suit. No cape, unfortunately, but I have put my hair into the little spike in the middle to make it look like I have a widow's peak. I'm like, okay, so I guess I'm just like the guy who does this, because then if I look back at the time I went on a trip to Dubai for eating burgers really well, I watched all the first 2 Twilight films on the plane on the way over there, and then every single photo from that trip I'm trying to do an impression of Edward Cullen by just making a smoldering face. So I'm just on a camel being like so
this is the skin of a killer, Bella. This is the flight of a killer.
Followed it up with other kinds of skin he also had.
So Richard, we're here to talk about the Kickstarter for issue 4. How's it feel to be ending this series? Do you have any sort, is there any sadness, any excitement to finally get it done with? Where are you at with it?
I don't know, actually. I really thought I would just be happy to have another thing in the rearview mirror, another thing that I could point to and stop having to say to people at cons, and this one will wrap up shortly. And then this morning I found this a little notebook from because I've been working on this thing. I had the idea almost a decade ago, and it went through a lot of iterations before it became a comic. And then when it became a comic, it happened it was oh, this makes sense. This just works really well. I made this one change to my original storyline, and it just happened quickly, But I found this old notebook from maybe 6 years ago when I was talking with someone about doing it as a one-woman show that she was going to perform in. And there's all of these little lines of dialogue and all these little moments, and I'm like, oh man, I really wish there had been room for this, And I feel like the men never appear in the story. Frankenstein and his monster, who's also named Frankenstein, suck it, haters. They never get to be in this book, because this is about Elizabeth and Victoria. Mm-hmm. But in the original notes, I have this moment where Victor is bragging about how well he made her, and Victoria just says to him, one of my tits looks like a homemade Spider-Man mask. And I really want an excuse to be able to put that line somewhere. It feels like a real lost moment of like calling yourself scarred as a way of insulting someone else's craft work is very powerful to me. So like there's tinges of sadness with things like that, but I'm also, I'm always moving forward. I went to an aquarium last week and found out that that's not true about sharks. So I guess I'm not like a shark.
So I was reading something really interesting the other day. It was about like the horrific nature of man. Like American Psycho, like why it was so good is because it was written by a woman, the film at least. Or directed by a woman. It's either the book or the film. I'm trying to remember. Someone, if you know,
very much written by a man.
So it was probably the film. It was something, and it maybe was wrong or not, but it sounded good. It said the film, like, it was so good because it was directed from a woman's point of view. So instead of it being a man trying to showcase this, it was like a victim. Like they were able to like give more of a victim side to the portrayal of like why this man was so bad in his actions and why he was so crazy. And when you were talking earlier about how you chose to exclude the men from this series, the culprits, and really just focus on the victims of their acts, it kind of just clicked and it made me really remember what I read. I'm curious on why you chose to do that. Like for you, what was your mindset in really just showcasing the victims and not wanting to include the guys who did it?
I want to be really clear that these women are not the victims. Like I never wanted to frame them as victims of something. I wanted to frame them as like they are people who have been through something. This is not, almost none of this book is about what happened before. It is about these two trying to figure out how to stop it from happening again. Like this is a story about them being dragged back into the spotlight because these two men are back, and it's less about they're kind of unwilling to focus on that and far more willing to focus on like what connection they can find with each other. I wanted to write about these two because they're like incredibly underserved in kind of every adaptation of Frankenstein. And obviously, like the novel, The Bride, does not actually exist. She is made and then burnt before she's brought to life. But Elizabeth Lavenza in the novel is, like so much of the book is from Victor Frankenstein's perspective, and it is very much that she is like left at home to wait for things and then killed by the monster. But in the movies, she's pretty underserved, and I wanted to like really explore who these people would be after, like, what does it look like after a shitty person leaves your life? Like that is the moment when you start like having space to think about who you are, and I think there's plenty of stories about people going through that. So I wanted to say, what does it look like 3 years later when the shitty person's about to come back? And it's never interesting. I have two friends online who have gone through some, I don't want to say they've gone through some bad things recently, but they certainly have an energy of like some shit went down. And I don't honestly know the details, but all of their posts are these like wild rantings about how well they're doing. And I'm like, oh, that's right. This is the really boring part. This is the like manic upswing of I went through a breakup and now I'm free. Everyone has seen that, and it's sort of tiresome. And I know I don't want to be interviewed by you for your blog about it. This is I wanted to tell a story about who are these people really when you like peel that all away, and they've been confronted by 40 other challenges when they're having to like pick that scab one last time and go, oh, I've settled back into some shitty behaviors, or oh, I've settled back into some old comforts. A big part of this story that's never discussed out loud really is Elizabeth's ongoing affair with Henry. Victor's best friend, who is obviously like absolutely the second Victor comes back, he's betraying her and saying, I'm on Victor's side again. And like seeing that new comfort that you're like, I've got an entirely new life. The monster from my life is gone. Everything is good. I will continue to fuck his best friend because I'm bad at letting go of things. And yes, he will write a self-help book based on my life, and he will do very well out of all of this. I wanted to just give these women like a fair shot, especially the bride, who, I mean, if you've seen The Bride of Frankenstein, and I know there are multiple films with The Bride of Frankenstein in it, blah, 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 and I know there's a new one coming out, and I'm hoping it's very good, but if you see the original, she is the titular character, and she exists on screen for about 3 minutes, where all she does is scream and get exploded.
Man, and my apologies. Victim was a poor choice of phrasing there. We're still getting the coffee in. It's still early in the morning.
You're not a villain for that. I mean, like, they certainly have been framed as that, and there's a lot of stuff that they have been. Look, I have a lot of hang-ups myself about, like, if something bad happens to you, never admit you're the victim of it, because then you get identified as that, and I'm that's my own bullshit baggage.
Perception is big, and I feel that you're right. You know, it's easy to want to call yourself the victim or label someone that is going through something horrible as a victim of like bad circumstances. And I think that's kind of where my mindset is. But like breaking that wall and just realizing, you know, bad stuff happens and it's up to you to work through it and it's up to you to come out stronger. You know, I think that is a more positive mindset, you know, like you learning what happened and why it happened and how it affects you can really teach you a lot about yourself.
Sure, but I'm also the absolute poster child example for the negative side effects of not admitting something was bad. Because I was always, without going into too much detail, people can read my memoirs for this, but like, I remember being a kid and hearing about certain things happening to certain people, and then the people would be referred to as like ruined by it, destroyed by it. Oh, this was the worst thing that could happen to them. And so when that thing happened to me, my instant response was, I cannot admit that this was a bad thing. This has to be funny. This has to be easy, because otherwise it'll destroy me. I didn't want to become destroyed or perceived as being destroyed by something. And that's just as unhealthy. And there has to be some middle ground. I just have not yet found it. I will continue writing stories to apologize for existing, and one day I will find mental health.
You know, I've been reading this book. What's it called? It's a men's emotional guide. I think it's called Nothing's Wrong, and it really breaks down into a lot of different aspects of like coming to terms with, you know, for men, coming to terms with emotion, like how repressed we are, how, you know, by society we're taught violence is the manly way to handle things, and if you feel any other emotion, you're a sissy or whatever, you know, vulgar term they want to call you over it. And you're right, you know, burying stuff and leaving stuff buried, it always comes back, it always resurfaces, and it always comes out way worse than it would have if you would just live in the emotion when it happens. But living in the emotion when you're going through something challenging, it's one of the hardest things to do, I feel, as a human. Like knowing something's wrong, knowing that, you know, you're changed by this, and not wanting to give it power by admitting it. It is really hard, but giving it that power and living in that moment, I feel like helps you work through it quicker. And you know, I'm only like 144 pages into it, so I'm not a therapist by any means. But I'm just saying,
a whole book to become a therapist.
It's really, I don't know. It feels like such a coincidence that we're having this conversation at this exact moment. You know, I was just reading it last night at like 2 a.m. And you're right, you know, like coming to terms with it is hard, and everyone has their own way of doing it. But, you know, making yourself feel like you're not a victim in it, I think holds so much power for your development.
I spend a lot of my time when I'm walking places just sort of imagining quippy little lines for characters and what have you. And occasionally, I think I'm making a set of stickers at the moment that are sort of Valentine's hearts about comics. With slogans like "I'd like you better if your comics were good," but I came up with a thing that I would love to see embroidered on a pillow that says "Why are you dating abusive men? Haven't you heard of self-destruction?" I'm always the person who will lean into the the joke of getting better. I genuinely believe that everyone should be on a mental health journey and working toward whatever they need to do. But I am also the person who's like, and we should absolutely make fun of it as we do it,
Hmm.
because that is survival.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm at, with my mental health journey. I feel like I got like books after books that I've read about like what to do, but you can read books all day long until you actually put it into practice. And that's like the hard part. Like that is the hard part, is rewiring your cognitive behavior to enable yourself to do this stuff. But once you start doing it, it gives you power in itself. I had a little bit of a temper issue. People, knew what buttons they had to push, and they could get a response. They could get the response out of me that they wanted very quickly if they knew what buttons to push. And like being able to not be that guy, being able to be like, I'm gonna step back, I'm gonna collect myself. I'm gonna hit you with some kindness instead of like an act of vengeance, like say something mean or act mean, and I think once you can control yourself on that level, like you become like a whole different person. And that's the beauty of mental health. Like there's so many different facets of it. It is like a diamond almost. Like, making your bed in the morning is a big thing for me. It helps me feel like my day's is starting off on a good note, and it takes 5 seconds to make a bed. It's dumb, but like I make that bed and I feel like I've done something for the day. And it's like, what's going on in my head? Like why are you doing this to me, brain?
Yeah. I mean, like my big hang up is always like, I will second guess everything I've ever said or how it's been interpreted.
Mm-hmm.
I've never walked away from a conversation and thought I did that well. And I need to remember that, like, I need to remember that most people I interact with actually like me and want me to be there, and that's
Dude,
just a
I
really cool thing.
fucking love you, Richard. We were just talking backstage. I've taken such a huge step back from interviewing live actively. I used to, I told my girl, like, I used to interview every day. I used to interview 2 times, 3 times a day. There was Wednesdays I would do 3 to 4 interviews sometimes. There were people would reach out and be like, Cody, we're concerned about your health. Like I was like the interview version of you to like a little minute degree. And like anytime you hit me up with a show, I'm like, when? And
I
you're
see your addiction and I'm feeding it. I'm a villain in this story you created.
You want some drugs, Cody? You're probably one of the only comic book creators that has that with me, and it's because of how good of a person you are and how good you've been to me. I mean, I went through a rough time, and you were literally, and it's the craziest thing in the world because on the surface, you come off as just what's a good word? You're crazy, Richard. You're crazy. Like you literally earlier told me you got to Dubai for fucking eating burgers. That is such a crazy story that I never knew. And we could spend probably like 5 hours just coming up with the most insane stories. And to you, they're just normal. And that's what I love about you. But there's a side of you that a lot of people probably haven't seen. And that is like the side where you were like a therapist to me to a degree where we're talking about throwing some hot dogs and some glizzies, and then we're talking about how I could work through my stuff more productively and better. And I will never forget that. I will never forget the comic panel you sent me of everything's going to be okay. I have that hanging up by my bed when I wake up. I see it every day. Richard, I know you feel like a lot of people hate you, and I think that's just human nature. We're programmed by just nature in itself, and designed by nature in itself to feel like something's always wrong, to feel like something's wrong with us, like everyone hates us. But you're one of the best people I've met in this community, honestly.
Thank you. I don't know how to take that. That's wonderful. That's very nice. I want to be clear. I don't think everyone hates me. I think my biggest fear is that everyone, whenever I leave a room, everyone just like goes, ugh, like they find me tiresome. That's my fear. Because you're right, I do have this life where these things happen and where I can say things like, I got to go to Dubai for eating burgers really good. And that does seem normal to me. Because I forget that other people, and I don't think I do anything particularly unusual. I pay more attention maybe to the world around me. I make decisions based on what I think will be a more interesting evening for me most of the time, rather than what I think will be easier. That's why I had that big regret about that wizard that offered me money that time, and I said no, I'm tired, and I'll never get over that.
See, that's the crazy shit that I'm talking about. Where we're talking about going to Dubai for burgers. You're like, this wizard offered me money. It's like, where were you? What were you doing?
No. I've told this story on this show. You should watch your show, Cody. It's very good. No, I was walking. This is like the night before the first lockdown. The 2 nights before lockdown started is the night that the events of Haunted Hill Volume 1 happened to me. And which is what that story is based on, because a car pulled up and said, "Hey, Mark." And I said, "Yeah." And I jumped in the car and they said, "You're not Mark." And I was like, "That's absolutely true. What are we doing?" And long story longer, but I ended up helping these like people in their 20s learn how to break into a house. But the next night, because I was like out all night with them, I went into the office the next day, made my comics as I do. And then on my walk home, there was this big shipping container that had been in the street for like months. There was all of these bubbles everywhere and everything smelled like Tide Pods. And I was like, something's going on. And this dude in a wizard costume, but like a really old, shitty, like a very expensive wizard costume, but it was old and shitty and worn out. And he steps out and he goes, "Hey, do you want to make some money?" And I just said, "I'm so sorry. I'm just really tired." And I walked home. And like, that's not me. I'm not that person. Like, I could have had a cool wizard adventure. I could be a ghost now,
It sounds like he was making some drugs, Richard. I'm gonna be honest with you. It sounded like the wizard was definitely.
But it wasn't. He didn't have a drug vibe. Like he had It just seemed. I mean, maybe it was like a, "Hey, do you want to watch this thing while I steal something?" kind of vibe. Maybe like I have a friend who accidentally, like some people gave him a piece of pie one time when he was out drinking. They're like, "Hey, can you just eat this pie?" And he was like, "Sure, I love pie." And they're like, "Hey, can you just yell if you see anyone coming?" And he was like, "Okay." And then they went and robbed a pharmacy. And he was like, "Oh, no, I didn't know I was standing guard."
Can you imagine like getting caught? Like you're just drunk eating pie, and then a cop pulls up and like, "Yeah, you're going to prison, dude. You're an accessory to fucking a pharmacy robbery." Like fucking. We have a Red Sea Comics in the chat throwing up some flames. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're having a fantastic day as well. So let's get back. We're getting a little. We should do a podcast where we just talk and shit talk.
But we went off topic. How?
It's been 24 minutes. I think we've talked about the comic for a total of 5. So we are at issue 4, the conclusion of the series, and things are getting a little, I don't know, like crazy between these two. We have the ex-wife of Frankenstein. We have a lot of things coming unraveled. It almost felt like at the seams. Once again, your coloring in this issue was phenomenal. I really love the part where they're eating and just like individual packages and stuff. We're all like, it's just like these bright, vibrant colors when everything is so mute, it feels. And I'm just such a big fan of your work and how you do that, and like just the way it breaks up the vibe almost. Your paneling in this was phenomenal. Again, I can only imagine how hard it was to get some of that grid wall drawn. The spiral staircase was probably very fun for you to draw as well. I know you like to put yourself through some punishment with these designs. I really liked a lot of the scenes too, like where they're in a particular setting. And there's a lot of talk around them, and all that is like kind of muted out besides just a few phrases here and there. And I just loved kind of the way you wrapped these two up, and that ending, it hit me hard. I was not expecting the ending to hit, and I loved how, we were talking backstage, I won't spoil it, but I loved how it was almost like a callback. So kind of give us an idea of just what's happened in the last 3 issues leading up into the 4th. And you don't have to get super detailed, kind of just give us...
I can do, I mean, like the elevator pitch for this thing is, it's Elizabeth Frankenstein and the Bride of the Monster on the day they find out their husbands are alive, living as a gay couple in the Arctic, and returning to the city as heroes of Reddit, Twitter, and the MRA movement. It's these 2 women who have been pitted against each other by every aspect of society, including a literal monster, realizing they need each other today because no one else could possibly understand what they're about to be dragged back into. And it's just about it's 2 women who have a lot of different reasons to resent each other, and they're slowly finding out that none of them are true, that they have been the victim of a lot of manipulation in terms of the story they've been told. Elizabeth always saw the Bride of the Monster as a sort of a replacement, a younger woman who was being made to to come in and be, you know, something else. Now finding out that both their husbands are in fact in love with each other means that like that's certainly not what was going on. This was two men playing make pretend and not treating the women in their stories as real characters. This was and so all of the stuff that started the resentment was fake, but it doesn't take away the fact that all of the shit they've done to each other or said about each other publicly since then doesn't still hurt. And I think that's something like, I think we've all been through a version of this. Like when you find out that, it doesn't matter the reason they said this shit about me, that they still said the shit. They still have that in them. And what where I wanted to put them in this was like, I wanted to change the dynamic in the story. Victoria, the bride of the monster, she's living in a shitty one-room apartment. It's very cramped. It's very dirty. She's in a worse part of town. And Elizabeth got to keep the castle, essentially, a nice penthouse apartment. And throughout, you know, we get to see Elizabeth comes to see Victoria because she's old and doesn't understand that she could just text this. She's out of touch. Victoria is mad that she's there. Elizabeth is uncomfortable being in this poor person's apartment. They go to a shitty bar, and you see that like Victoria has dealt with this stuff by being tough and just having to fight her way through because she was born into it, and she was born into the fight. And Elizabeth has been quietly drinking herself to death for decades because she has, whether she was wanting to admit it or not, her husband was off digging up corpse parts to build a man for himself. Like, she had to know something was going on. And you get to kind of see the way these different forms of self-care are hurting them and incompatible with each other. And where we left off in issue 3 is that Elizabeth has offered Victoria, she says, you can come and stay at my place. It's much nicer. And of course, Victoria has no good memories of this place. She was corpse pieces on the fucking kitchen counter. But she like doesn't know what to say to it. And then Elizabeth finds out that because Victor and the monster are back, she is actually losing the apartment because they need somewhere to start their new life. And so issue 4 is like seeing the tables have absolutely turned, and it is Victoria looking after a drunk Elizabeth and taking her like away from the brightly colored street food and the overwhelming nature of the city, and taking her where she thinks she'll be comfortable, which is a very fancy hotel bar, and just like putting her in a corner booth where she will be talked about, but she won't notice it. And it's like every single part of this issue is kindness not working. And I want to, I'm really glad it hit you hard, because I wanted to finish this by breaking your heart with kindness. And everyone who's read it has said that I pulled it off. So I'm very happy about that.
So do you have any plans on doing a trade paperback or graphic novel, like combining all 4 issues?
Let's just say there's nothing I can announce yet, but something's I'm fielding offers from some places who want to do a collected edition for me. So something will be happening, but it won't be for like a year. You know, I've got too many other books. I got my next 17 books planned. I can't be thinking about reprints.
He's like, I'm a working man, all right? So I like this right here, the cover A. All 4 issues have had a similar look where you kind of made like a paper mache looking design with stuff, and then you get in there, you digitally enhance it. Give us a little bit about what went into cover A.
So that one is, I took a what do you call it? A polystyrene mannequin head, and I made some cuts on it, and I put a little firecracker inside it, and I blew it up. And then I took all the pieces and paper mache'd them so they were sort of, the edges were all sealed so they wouldn't crumble. And then I used kebab skewers to put them all back together, trying to follow the lines of the stitching on her face. So it's about like reconstructing a head from different pieces. And that one, I ended up, like, the other ones have all been kind of built as one piece. And this one, the head is all held together as one piece with 100 of these skewers through it. And then the background is that it's actually sitting in water, and then on underneath it's sitting in water in a glass fish tank, and then there's a second glass fish tank underneath filled with paint and oil. And so then underneath that is paper mache of the chapter 20 of Frankenstein, which is the one about the bride. And then it's photographed through that with green light. There's actually there's green paint and there's green light in this one. I think the actual paint on the head is, I can actually see the head from here. No, there is green paint on the actual head. Sorry, it's been a year since I made this one. So that's how that was made. So I certainly could have just drawn it, and that would have taken a couple of hours. And instead, I did this.
It took a couple days, maybe a month or two to do that. I really I love that as well. And we have another gorgeous cover right here. I just love the shattered mirror. Is there any special representation behind that?
Well, I mean, this is about her looking at herself put back together, and the thing that she's looking at it in is broken. Obviously, when the imagery of the shattered hand mirror is like iconic to the Frankenstein films.
Mm-hmm.
And like her seeing herself for the first time and being horrified. I mean, I always think about it as like how old you are before you go through your mirror phase, where you start recognizing your own reflection, and she goes through that so fast that it's overwhelming. This one here it's a watercolor painting by Jill Thompson of the Sandman and Scary Godmother and Goosebumps comics and so many other fucking incredible things that I can't even believe that I have her on a cover for me. So this one was initially going to be for issue 1, and I decided that I wanted to save it because I didn't want I wanted this to be the big finale. And it's I mean, there's just so much detail in it. Jill actually sent me 3 different designs, and I loved 2 of them. The one that it was like my absolute favorite as an idea, but I don't think it would have been executed quite as well, was it was Elizabeth and Victoria in the window, like they are, in issue 1 where they're sitting out the window, and Elizabeth is smoking, and you see Frankenstein's monster made of the smoke. And I was like, I want that picture so bad. I just want to eat that painting. But of course, I have this rule: the men don't get to be in the book, and so it couldn't happen. And this was like such a beautiful image and all the detail in it. I love my little panels. I love my like excessive clutter and everything. So seeing all of the stuff that Jill painted into this, she sent me when Jill does when other people do sketches, Jill does tiny little paintings, and she sent me these like 3 or 4, I can't remember, tiny little paintings, and this would have been like a 2x3 inch watercolor of what this would be eventually. And I was like, how does a person have the skill to do this much in a like? I gotta ask Jill if it's okay, but I want to include the original tiny painting in the backup material for this one because it's phenomenal what she did.
I love the detail too, like the broken teeth on the comb. Is this like the color palette that goes into her, or is this just like?
Yeah, Jill came up with that herself. I've never really dug into what it is that makes the bride green. I just think when you think Frankenstein, you think of a green person. And I think like it's sort of it's either a paint palette or it is like this is the line of makeup that she's found that works with her natural skin tone, and that's kind of beautiful. Like it speaks a lot to who she is in society and who she has to be, that it would be quite hard for her. Like normal makeup palettes are not geared toward her, which I think is something that like is just another reminder of you are too far outside of the norm for society to cater to anything. Every single part of your life is going to be a little bit harder because you have to go further away or pay more money for this ordinary thing that other people can buy at a fucking CVS.
We have another gorgeous cover here. I love this, like stitching the arm together. This
is another of my, from the Haunted Hill covers, I have this fascination with like aggressively horny but uncomfortable. And I wanted to do like the sexy pose, the alluring smile, and that the tracing of the lipstick on the scars from issue 1, but just her literally unthreading herself. I call this the tear myself apart cover. And this one is a mixture of physical and digital collage. So the whole thing is hand drawn, but it's scanned, I think, 6 times at different points during the drawing, and layered over and then printed out onto itself and layered over itself. and then the newspaper, so the text in the background is all colored digitally, but it's a mixture of digital painting and then actual pieces of torn paper, where the torn edges are drawn, but they're traced around actual torn paper, and then those pieces of torn paper are scanned to get that paper texture on those pieces. And then she is all colored with markers. I think she's here. Oh yeah. So there she is.
Wow. She got some cake too. I was not, expecting the cake. She caked up, Richard. She caked up.
Well, I thought, I know that this is a character in the original version of this. It's alluded to in this that she's done some webcam work, etc. This is a book that is very explicitly set before OnlyFans exists, because she is still living in a one-room apartment, having worked as a webcam model. Because this is a woman who knows what it's like to be an object of fetish, while also being she's considered beautiful, she's considered desirable, but she is a smelly corpse lady. And I wanted to play with the difficulty of that. So she's someone who is her background is being a monster. Everyone is calling her a monster. That's why that's written there over and over again. But she is standing in front of it and saying, yeah, if I am here, I'm not going to hide the fact that I'm made up of pieces, and I'm going to pull myself apart. If you like this, come say hi.
I do the details, Justin. I love the little back dimple. You killed it. The back. This is phenomenal. It's awesome to see, because that's the thing. You have a unique style, but I don't think a lot of people realize how what's the word I'm looking for? How multifaceted you are as well. I mean, I've seen you do, what was it, the Silver Age? You did some Silver Age, I think, and it was just, I was like, God, Richard, I didn't know you could do this. So it's cool seeing you getting detailed and stuff with a lot of these designs as well.
I like getting the chance to do stuff like this. My challenge with comics is always to not let myself get bored. And so I'm putting out these books really fast, not because I'm hurrying them, but because I am choosing to make the kind of books that can be done with incredible speed. And I wanted this book to feel like a New Yorker cartoon that was moving. I wanted it to feel sloppy and weird, and that works for that. But I don't like the idea that anyone ever thinks that I draw the way, I want every book to look a little bit different. But I don't want people to think it's because I can't do something else. I want, these choices are all very deliberate. This would not look good. This book would not work if Alex Ross painted it, It would be a fucking great cover, but it wouldn't work that way, because it needs to be sloppy, because they are on a sloppy journey. I want the tone to match the story.
And right here's some of the interiors too. I just, like I said, right here's that stair, and just the way you panel them walking down, walking out of the elevator. Is that an elevator right here?
Yeah.
And just the silhouettes, and you do such a good job too with the glasses, and in later panels we'll see right here where was actually what I was talking about earlier, the scene where they're at a bar and there's just a lot of commotion, a lot of fuss going on around them. You can only see very small bits of what they're talking about, and the reflection in the glasses. It's such, I'm a sucker for that. That is such a cool detailed. I love, you break the bubble with a lot of your work. I feel where a lot of people would just have word balloons, you put it in the glass itself. And the way it fits around the ridges, it's such a cool touch. Right here is a part of that grid wall I was talking about as well. Man, just it's like you want to put yourself through so much punishment. I feel like a normal artist that would not want to sacrifice their sanity would have maybe done one panel with the grid wall, but you're I'm gonna make this whole page a grid wall. And I just love the way you just put so much work and effort into every single page.
Well, I mean, the environment matters, and I also know myself well enough to know that the second I let myself take a shortcut, I stop caring about the finished result.
And just the perspective, the way the wall's gridding off to this side so it doesn't feel flat, it feels 3D, and it's dude, this is such a cool panel. And how come all these bars always have flatbread? Why is flatbread such such a standard for bar food.
Because we live in a fucking terrible world.
Now, a thing I've always loved with this series is the emergency kits. And it just keeps getting cooler and cooler. What are we looking at for the emergency kit being included with issue 4?
You get a seam ripper. So to like tear through stitching. Great for if you're making repairs on things, but also great if you need to, in an actual emergency, to get someone's clothing off them to save their life. So actually a really useful thing for once. So now we've got the sewing kit, the matches, the keychain wrench, which I've been using this keychain wrench now, and it is surprisingly good as like a genuine wrench to fix things when I'm on the go, which I don't have to fix a lot of stuff in my life, but I'm not a pocket knife guy. But this wrench, it makes me feel like a real tough boy.
Yeah, if you need something fixed on the go, hit up Richard.
So I'm doing the collection now of all 4 in the special gift box with the they're all custom made. I'm making all of the images on them by hand, so it's the line work from cover A from issue 1, and a nice like solid red box with a magnetic lid, so that you can keep that on your shelf, and it comes with the 4 QR codes to download the comics instantly.
And these are all really cool. Is that a toilet right there?
Yeah. Well, where else do you keep matches?
I love you, Richard. I fucking... Oh my god. And the emergency wrench is very cool as well. And then open tube and tear yourself apart. So all kinds of awesome thing in this. We also have some original art too. So rare opportunity to grab pieces of the original book. 10 pages are up for grabs. Are these going to be the colored ones or the ones where you... Okay, cool.
Yeah. These are all of the whole book is hand colored. So here's most of it. So the original pages do look exactly as they do in the book. All of the pages in the comic are photographed instead of scanned, so you get... I should put this one up for sale as well. This is a really nice one. This is them going up in the elevator. I really like the control of time of the elevator floors, but keeping them in one panel as they go through it. Sorry, it's been a long time since I got to really look at this book, and there's so much stuff in it that's just makes me very happy. I was trying to find one of the ones there. This is one that was actually on me. So that's exactly what it looks like.
That's cool. And I mean, it's always an awesome opportunity to get the original artwork from the book itself, to put it up on your wall, put it in something nice, and get a chance to look at it for the rest of time. Of course, right here is a very big scene. This was what, from issue 1?
Yeah. This is the moment where the 2 pages before this have actually... the 2 pages before this have already sold, where Victoria is picking apart her stitching because Elizabeth is driving her so nuts. And then she just stops and turns around and opens the window and sits outside of the comic panel for a minute, just dangles her feet into the gutter. And then this is the next page where the paparazzi are already waiting, and they immediately start photographing them.
And the detail in the camera too, the way the sound effect goes like around the curvature of the lens. Man, I love it. The way it like bleeds into like the reflection and stuff, it's so cool.
The only thing I went back and forth on this for so long, I wanted to draw them. I wanted to flip this one, flip those panels because I wanted the to show the reflection in the lens. But I know that if you draw things, if you try and draw reflections of things, it never quite looks right. So I was like, I will draw them the right way around, and then I'll flip it later. And then when I came to actually do the digital part of it, I was like, I don't want to flip it because I don't want any part of this book to have digital alteration if I can help it. And so technically it's the one part of the book that doesn't make sense, but you could think about it that this is seen from inside the lens, maybe.
I love that. And I guarantee 99% of people reading it are probably not going to be like, oh, this is a camera lens, it should be reflected. Like,
yeah, they're all wondering, how the fuck did you eat burgers good enough to go to Dubai?
Some awesome pages. I love this too, right here. I remember you sharing this on Twitter before I got that chance to read, and it made me laugh every time.
It's my favorite, like, absolute perfect encapsulation of how it feels when you're like someone older than you doesn't understand how to be quiet in public.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have all been the kid turning to dead weight, throwing a tantrum in a grocery store, and our parents have had to drag us out of there. And now, because of social media, because of the way we interact with the world, our parents or our elders have become the people who are embarrassing us by saying things too loud.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, it's rough too, because it's a cycle. You know, they're taught by teachers who don't know better, who are taught by teachers who don't know better. You know, and it's a cycle that doesn't get broken until someone decides to break that way of thinking, that way of just acting.
Well, I also wanted to make the point that I think, like, Elizabeth is right here. Like, she is not talking universally about homosexuality. She is talking about these two men.
Yeah.
And okay, I'm not saying she's like, it's a much bigger thing to unpack as to whether these two fictional characters are actually in love with each other. But like, her saying that is a thing that she gets to say and feel about two specific people.
Mm-hmm.
But when you say it in public, it gets assumed to be that she's talking about all of them. And I've got the two very queer-coded men there to the right of the panel who are then going to just glare at her, because, like, you do have to be quiet in public if you're going to say these inside thoughts, because it does hurt them. Like, they don't know who you're talking about. They don't have the context. It's absolutely right that you should just, keep your fucking mouth shut on a train. But Elizabeth gets to be in her feelings on this really rough day. And this is kind of what, like, this is the moment of Victoria making the choice to say, am I going to walk away? Am I going to take her somewhere quiet? Or am I going to, like, really bond with her and say, actually, I don't give a fuck about the rest of the world. They've put too many expectations on me forever. Maybe we can just be fucking sloppy for a second.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, as we saw with the paparazzi, as we see with the way people talking about them in the hotel in issue 4, like, the entire world is talking about them right now, and there isn't an escape.
And that would be such a nightmare, right? That would be, that's the cost, just like for celebrities in itself, like never getting a chance to just be who you want to be. You always have to be this person. And that kind of is like me putting breadcrumbs in for my question later, but just pretending, itself.
Can we go back up and just look at the page with the wine glasses? One more up. Sorry, I'm just really proud of that.
No, I remember. I can't remember if it was the second or third issue.
That's the second one.
I remember we talked about this in particular because I was so flabbergasted on how you were able to do this, like just this detail in itself.
Mm-hmm. And it's that thing that, like, throughout the story, it's very rare that you get, like, there are these moments that you get where they're talking to each other, but there's always distorted views. Every place they're in, we are seeing them distorted through someone else's perspective. And I'm quite often using alcohol and glasses to do that, because I think it's, like, we are never going, like, no matter how close you can feel to these characters, you can never fully know what it's like to be in their heads today.
Mm-hmm. It's like that what is it? Analogy? Is it analogy? Where you can never step in the same river twice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because the water's always moving. So no matter how hard you try, you'll never hit that same spot ever again.
Yeah.
So why?
I wonder if there's something in that, though, like, by pure chance, the exact same water ended up being in the exact same place at the exact same time, and you stepped into the same river twice, and what that would do to you.
You'd have to have a circle river for that.
No, you wouldn't. Like the water could go around the entire fucking world. Like, it'd be. There's something, like, there's a Twilight Zone kind of story in that somewhere of, like, what happens to the person when they do the impossible thing by pure chance.
Probably the world stops. It's chaotic out there. The world implodes. We die.
Or, like, the world came back to collect, and the water returned to. The same water came back. There's some magnetism in them that brings. There's a metaphor in. Sorry, I'm writing a story now live on camera.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I better get some co-creation credit on this.
I'm crediting the river. There's a metaphor there for, like, a person who's so determined to stay in one place that they start sucking other things back to that same place. the person who never wants to leave their hometown, who oh, you know what it is? It's the like, no, honey, don't go to college. We can like make it work in this hometown where we already have the things we want. And it's that's the thing. It's about a young woman. Or no, it's about a middle-aged woman who realizes that every time she goes to the river, it's the exact same water. And it's just her musing on this. Okay, I'm just writing a fucking sad story about someone musing about how they've let their life go. And they keep seeing other water move on, but every time they step into the river, the water is staying still. And there's no it's the ocean. They're staring out at the ocean, and it's a rip, a calm spot on a surf beach where it pulls you under and drags you through. The book is called Rip, and she just creates a rip by existing, because the water in front of her house, at her nice beach house where she's grown up and lives, the water is always still.
I love that. And that's why Richard is just a beast with this. He could just come up with things on the spot. We have D-Rhino419 stopping and say, hey, welcome to the stream. I hope you're having a fantastic time as well. For everyone that is watching, right here is a link to the Kickstarter. Be sure to pull it up and check it out with us. If you're able to share, we would love to see that. Putting it on Twitter, Facebook, any social media platform. Cost you absolutely nothing, and it's free to do. If you have a few bucks to spare, be sure to drop some money on the campaign as well. We're going to go ahead and check out some of the rewards. So you know exactly what you're backing. Kickstarter is always changing this interface, it feels like, every single interview. We have the digital copy of issue 4 coming hot off the press at $8. You can get that emergency seam ripper at $13. We have the final issue sculpted cover physical for $15. The Tear Apart Myself at $15 as well. And then that Jill Thompson cover coming hot off at $20. We have a virgin variant of this at $25. So you can get this gorgeous color, just beautiful without the logo itself. This looks like it should be a poster almost.
Oh, I wonder if that would be a stretch goal. I wonder if I have a box of posters just over there. Oh, I wonder that.
He's like, Cody, are you living in my house at some point? Like, how'd you know this? We have the digital catch-up at $26, so get issues 1 through 4. Awesome bundle price there. And then the physical catch-up at $45 as well. The Richard Sucks digitally at $50. So you can get every Richard Sucks title in glorious PDF format. 720 pages of digital content for $50. That's one hell of a steal.
That's everything I've put out in the past year and a half.
Yeah, that's insane. And it's a lot, too. A lot of people would be like, just a few books, but you're like, nah, dude, I got a whole bookshelf worth of stuff. You can get the final issue cover bundle at $60. And then that emergency kit with the awesome box at $65. So you can get all 4 of those items for your need to mend on the go. So, make sure you keep yourself safe. And if you're on a date, pull this thing out. I'm sure they're going to be about it. They're going to be like, whoa, you could stitch me up and pull me apart. Say less. We have Ian coming in chat, going to ask all these questions again later. Thanks, Cody. Thanks for joining us, Ian. I need to get you on the show. You've been definitely a creator I've wanted to talk to for such a long time. So it always makes me so happy to see you in chat as well.
But do you think that is another situation of the water being the same twice? Like, you and Ian both have such good radio voices that were you to be on the same stream, like it would be almost impossible and overwhelming for listeners.
It'd be like Jesus and Fergie combined singing. Hey, I'm just saying. You've never seen us in the same room together, all right?
That's true. I met Ian in person last week though, and it was
I'm jealous.
It was the first moment of like, oh, I really didn't expect. I couldn't have put together, like, I had imagined an Ian in my mind because he's been in my ears so often.
Mm-hmm.
I've started doing this thing now where if I haven't met someone, I start imagining them as a cartoon, because that way I'm less uncomfortable when I meet them for the first time.
I swear to God, if you think of me as like Phineas and Ferb because I got a big nose, I will just cry myself.
I mean, I actually, everyone who has the like trading card business cards,
mm-hmm.
Who did those?
Pete Collins.
Yeah, they were like, because you've got one, Stokes has one, a bunch of different people have them, and I picture all of you as your avatars from those. And then when I meet you in person, I'm like, oh, you did a pretty good job.
Hey, I'm telling you what, Miggy, the cat, he is huge. He's like 15, 20 pounds. He's the size of a small dog. So as big as he looks in that's how big he is in real life. It's insane.
I had assumed that he was like a Maine Coon or something.
No, he was the run of the litter.
Wow.
We found out because I'd feed my cats because I love my cats. That's what you got to do to keep them alive. He would bully.
That's what I'm doing wrong. Shit.
It hasn't moved in months. What's been going on?
I've gone through like 17 cats this year.
I have I have this tabby named Bella from Twilight. I didn't name her, but so Bella was really skittish. I mean, I noticed that she was losing a little weight, so I was like trying to monitor, and sure enough, Miggy would eat his food, and then he would push Bella out of the way and eat her food. And it's like, how many months has this been going on that we didn't catch it because they wait until we leave to do this or something? Like, dude, Miggy is just, we need to put him on a diet. But I don't know if you guys ever try to put a cat on a diet. It is not a fun time. Speaking of a fun time, Ian said Richard is coming.
Can I give you a cat hint?
Yes.
If you put their bowl closer to a wall so that they have to stare at a wall to eat, they will eat a lot slower and a lot less, because cats don't like to not be able to watch their surroundings when they're eating. They like to have the space in front of it.
That's crazy, because I actually do have it like it's like right next to my refrigerator, so it's like there's a wall and then there's a wall, so it's like that's perfect.
All right, so that cat is just too powerful for my
too powerful anime villain. Ian saying Richard is coming on in my place. Yeah, let's go. I can't wait to check that out. Yep. Ian, feel free to drop a time on that, and we can promote it.
PM Pacific.
Okay. And that's over on Twitter as well. So guys, be sure to give Ian and Richard a follow on Twitter and check out that interview as well.
And you guys are gonna. I should give more detail. It's Ian and I, but also Barbara Dillon, editor-in-chief of Fanbase Press.
Yeah.
For the wrap up of the Ripple Effects campaign.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's the last day today. So come and listen to us talk. Barbara is one of my favorite people in the world. So join us as I say my usual bullshit, and she goes and says, appropriate things to say publicly.
And I love that series. That series it's such a cool look to be like invincible and then like to need to get medicine injected into your body, but your skin is so durable that a needle can't go through it. Like that'd be insane. It's such a cool concept that I guess I never really thought about. If you guys are interested, you can get Richard Sucks floppies for $100, so 10 comics. That's $10 an issue, and each of these are probably like 20 to 30 pages.
At least, yeah. I mean, Too Hot for Octopus is 44. The ex-wives ones are all 32 pages. The horror shorts are 20 each, but there's 4 stories in each one.
So yeah. Awesome. We have the Richard Sucks thick ones. Awesome name on that as well. Physical copy of every big thick book or graphic novel. Plus the digital bundle of the ex-wives of Frankenstein as well. So I mean, we have Haunted Hill Volume 1, 2, and 3, a octopus memoir of Flailing, Ghost, Shed, 4-color heroes, Richard Sucks digital bundle, Frog Alley, Ambitious Failures, and then Ex-Wives of Frankenstein sculpture cover. So, dude, awesome. Then you can get original art coming hot off at the press at $175. So these are all fantastic, and we've seen these all a little bit larger on the campaign.
And all the original pages come with the PDF of the full series and and a copy of issue 4.
So this is phenomenal. So that is the campaign in its entirety. Richard, for anyone who is on the fence about backing, what would you like to say to them to kind of help push them over that hump?
I say, fight me, coward.
Fight me!
I would say that, look, Kickstarter is a place where you get to support the kind of comics you want to see in the world, and you get to find things that you would not find anywhere else. And I think it's safe to say that I am making comics that are, 1, very good. People keep throwing awards at me. But 2, not like anything else you're finding anywhere else. Like, there are these people who can say, my comic is this meets this. It's very fucking hard for me to do that. My comic is story meets character, I guess, but it's this is one of the first things I've ever done where I'm even using other people's characters, which is kind of huge for me. But again, there were characters who were so underserved in most media that I was able to kind of take them as a blank slate. But if you like complex nuance, if you like characters being unpleasant but well-meaning, if you like to see women who are not perfect with each other, who are not really that interested in being perfect for the world, and if you want to see you were talking about American Psycho being a better movie because a woman wrote and directed it. And I think you're absolutely right. I think taking something and putting a different perspective on it is what makes it a better piece. I have, I'm always talking with Haunted Hill, especially. Haunted Hill's a book that's about the cross section in the Venn diagram between misogyny and homophobia, where all women and all gay men reach a certain age or weight and become invisible. And I think like a lot of the time it's about finding your way into these characters and figuring out what you do relate to. And for me, it's about being a sloppy mess who's sometimes interpreted as one thing and sometimes another, and knowing how to act in society while also resenting the fact that I have to and not really being able to hold on to it. And I think this book really just came together, and I'm reading it this morning, like I said, and finding my old notes on it and things, and seeing all the things, like the amount of stuff that was cut from this book, the amount of like to just hone it into this like one perfect piece, this possibility that it could be a big ongoing series later, or that someone else would want to do something with it, thrills me, but it also terrifies me, because I feel like this is, it's that Studio 60 pilot script. Everyone said, hey, this is going to be great, and then the later parts were a garbage mess. And I never want to be that. I want to say, like, here's the book. And of course I might go back on this and I might like look at these notes and be like, actually, I've got this really fucking good idea. And I kind of do. I have this like, what happens when these two go to a party? How long can I keep the men out of the story? But look, we won't talk about that. It's a finite fucking piece. Buy it. Get the 4 issues. You'll get a story about one very difficult day for 2 very difficult people.
I love that so much. I love how it was split up across 4 books as well. And all the work and effort you put into it. Richard, this is like one of my favorite parts. We can literally have like a dog shit in the middle of our interview. We can literally talk about just obscene sex parties and crazy things, but then you always have such insane nuggets of wisdom or insane like just perspectives that just like wake you up a little bit, from my perspective. And it's just it's you just have this I love it. The balance. I don't know how else to word it. Like, it's like you're on both ends of the spectrum, like a wizard with like just boundless, infinite like knowledge and wisdom, and then just like one of the craziest guys I've ever met in my entire life. And it's just like you mash it together and you got Richard, and it's one of my favorite parts. And that leads me to my question. Usually I ask about advice pertaining to comic book creation, or just the concept of creating a comic, just like what goes into it. But with issue 4, I felt like there was a lot circulating, like pretending to be someone you're not, or pretending to be okay, pretending that when something's happening to you, that's not what's happening to you, and putting yourself in a different mind frame. And I really feel like, we saw kind of a breakaway with one of the characters with that kind of mindset. So for anyone who's stuck pretending, maybe having to pretend, or maybe they're just, in themselves having trouble just being who they are. For anyone who's struggling pretending to be something they're not and having a hard time with it, what would be your biggest piece of advice for them? He's like, that's a doozy.
Well, like I came in with a good piece of advice on how to write comics, but fine, I'll throw that out. No, I'm kidding. I think, I always say to people, life is finite. You're gonna regret something you did. You might as well have it be something that didn't take up that much time. And in the same way as with like so many people when they're writing a story, they think what happens in the story. Mm-hmm. And when I'm writing a story, I think, what idea do I want to investigate, and what will that make happen? And I think if you look at like why you're pretending to be something you're not, ask yourself what idea is driving that, like what ideology is driving that pretense, and then look and say, is there any good ideology that involves falsehood? And the truth is always no, but truth is also messy and hard.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that so much, Richard. Thank you so much for swinging by. Before we let you go, what are you watching? What are you reading? What are you up to? Have you seen The Penguin? Is Colin Farrell as bangable as Danny DeVito? Like, what's your thoughts? I have to know.
I haven't watched it yet. I haven't seen The Batman. I mean, look, I know they're trying to ug him up, and I appreciate it. I like a good, thick, saggy neck, but no one's ever going to be as fuckable as my boyfriend Daniel DeVito as the Penguin. Colin Farrell is never going to be eating a fish with his bare hands, looking sad and scared, and that's my jam. I'm rewatching Young Sheldon, a show that people I think dismiss as being a Big Bang Theory spinoff, and I know technically it is that, but it is a fucking masterpiece in as a sitcom. It's character driven, it's beautiful, it's small, and it's really complex and dealing with like issues beyond like it feels more in line with Freaks and Geeks than Seinfeld, you know. I have not been reading anything except like old Silver Age stuff. I'm doing a new book at the moment called What If I Did, where I'm essentially, you know, as I say, I've almost never written other people's characters, and I've kind of made a career out of making up my own stuff. And a lot of offers have been made to me over the years to write for other people, and I've turned them all down. And a lot of people have asked questions like, you know, what would you do with character X? And my answer has always been, I've never thought about it because I don't want to. And so I'm doing this book where it's me investigating that and saying, what if I did? And so I'm essentially kind of, I'm sure there's some legal problems with this, but I'm going to just start writing some superheroes and some cartoon characters with me showing up to explain why I've fucked them up.
I love that so much. I'm sure if you change the names a little bit, change the designs a little bit, you can skirt around copyright.
Nah. Why would I do that?
He's like, we're going to see if we get in some legal trouble this time around, boys. We're going to make it fun.
Cody, I'm doing a book called I'm Only Drawing Danny DeVito as the Penguin Until I Stop Wanting to Fuck Him. I think the ship has sailed on whether I'm crossing line. Like, I don't think I'm breaking any laws, but I'm sure it's going to get some pushback.
And we have my good friend Tipsy Pickle throwing a heart in chat. We have Chronic Brownie throwing a heart, saying Young Sheldon win. I got to check that show out too. That's been on my to watch list. But guys, with that being said, it is time for us to wrap up. Right here is the campaign to check out. Once again, this is the series finale, so be sure to check it out. Be sure to share it wherever you can. Word of mouth is always absolutely free. Hope you all have a fantastic Tuesday, but most importantly, guys, keep it geekly.